Hey Rockstars, welcome back to your supply of a widow inspiration. I'm Rocky, certified persister, and I'm here to help you get your life back on track. Struggling is human and inevitable, but by building our inner resources like detachment, visualization, and optimism, we can foster resilience. Resilience is defined as an ability to recover from or adjust easily to misfortune or change. I've gone from extreme poverty to excessive wealth, and then I landed somewhere in the middle. And I'm here to share the ways that I've always kept my chin up, even when the world told me to put it down. In this episode, I'm going to be sharing one of the many ways that we can jumpstart our resilience journey: joining a group. This time last year, I was a corporate baddie with a millionaire boyfriend. I know, that's an extremely privileged position, and I'm blessed to have experienced that. But before I get to how I picked myself up after the ending of those things, we need to back it up a little bit. A quarter of a century ago, in a land not too far away, I was born in South Louisiana to a family of alcoholics, abusers, religious fanatics, narcissists, and codependents. I can go into more detail on that in another episode, but when you're raised in an environment like this, you have to rely solely on yourself from such a young age. Because of that, I began my resilience journey years before my peers even knew the definition of the word. And I wouldn't wish that on anyone, but I have come to be grateful of the lessons that I've been able to learn. I started working at 16. I went to college, the first in my family to even go to a university. I was paid thousands of dollars to go. And as soon as I graduated, I left to Dallas. Fast forward 2 years, and I've been promoted twice. I've gotten a serious boyfriend. I started dancing, something I always wanted to do as a kid. And I was drinking $8 lattes twice a day. I had the quote-unquote perfect job and the perfect boyfriend. And then I left it all. Because when you've seen what I've seen and you've been through what I've been through, that life didn't feel like enough. I was looking for a sense of fulfillment, a sense of purpose. I believe in having a vision for your life, and I believe that that's how we as humans are capable of achieving great things, especially when looking back at my own experiences. If I would not have had vision greater than anything that I had ever seen in my reality, I would not be here talking to you today. But that life was very empty to me. You know, the work felt extremely shallow and consumerism based, and it just didn't align with my values. I felt very drained. I felt very almost like a sellout. I know that's not the word that I'm looking for, but it was just like this cognitive dissonance of what I felt like I should be doing versus what everyone else thinks I should be doing. It didn't feel like I was making the difference that I have been called to make. Boyfriend was amazing. We had a pretty good relationship, but it was also a codependent relationship, and I began to live my life more for him than for myself. I used to have big goals, huge visions for my life, and all of a sudden I looked and I realized that my goals had shifted to: when was I getting the next promotion? When was I going to break this salary threshold? When was I gonna buy a house? When was I gonna have kids? And those are all great goals. But I think a lot of what motivates me is my legacy that I'm gonna leave for my children and what my children will think of me. And I don't want them to think of me as someone who put my life on hold to have a family. I want them to look at me as someone who did both. And so I broke up with my boyfriend, and it was extremely hard. You know those things that seem so right, like deep down, even though they're just very difficult to do? That was me breaking up with my boyfriend. It was even more difficult because at that point, not only was he my sole emotional support, he was also kind of financially supporting me. Not totally to the extent that he could have, because he was a literal millionaire. I'm just a very independent person, and I still paid for my own rent. I still paid for all my other things, but obviously he foot the bill for a lot of dinners, coffees, stuff like that. So it was a little terrifying to you know, have both of these pillars of constancy being unstabilized. And I floundered for a bit, just having made these huge life changes back to back, losing the job or quitting the job and quitting the boyfriend, and not really having a support system to fall back on, because my boyfriend was my emotional support system. I don't really keep in contact with my family like that. I didn't have anyone to kind of remind me of the importance of not bottoming out, you know, that life was still passing by, and I just still had to continue to focus on my future and not ruminate so much on what I had lost, but focus more on what I still had to lose. But because of my mental health at that time, I was still focused on what I had lost, this relationship that I had projected into the future 50 years, and it was just gone. It wasn't going to be that way anymore. I was unable to make a decision for myself on if I wanted to continue to live in Dallas, a place where I felt like I had nothing else for me, or if I should go somewhere else. And that somewhere else was so vague, and it was too consuming. It was too overwhelming, you know, the vagueness. So I ended up not making a decision in time, and I became a hidden homeless. And what that means is I was couch surfing on a friend's couch for 3 weeks. I was renting Airbnbs like here and there, everywhere, and just not really getting my foot back in the ground like I expected myself to. At this point, I'd lost all the friends that I thought that I had made from that corporate job. People who never checked in whenever I was struggling, but were quick to be like, oh, you're doing this wrong, you shouldn't be doing this, blah, blah, blah. Whatever, they were somehow experts of my life more than I was. I lost my job, I lost my boyfriend, I was losing friends like hot potatoes, and I was ready to cut the cameras dead ass. It was only August, and I had already gone through all these changes in 2023. So there I was, homeless, alone, feeling really down, but me being me, I was looking for inspiration. I was looking for that next thing that would get me from where I am to where I wanted to be, even if I wasn't sure exactly where I wanted to be was. I found this ensemble at this dance studio that I had previously gone to but had stopped because I was just, you know, lacking passion and motivation for my hobbies with all those changes. And I joined it even though, you know, I just wasn't sure if my skill level was what they were looking for, or if you'd need previous performance experience, but I just knew that this was something that was calling to my soul, to my spirit. It was gonna give me that fulfillment that I was really looking for. It was 8 weeks of rehearsals, and I hid my situation from these girls because I just didn't know how they would respond. You know, I didn't know them like that prior to this experience, but still somehow keeping that part of me from them, I still somehow ended up not so alone. You know, it provided camaraderie, it provided community, it provided me a glimpse into all these different people's lives who shared a passion of mine and what they were doing with their lives outside of that. You know, one girl was in environmental protection, one was a teacher, one was a student. And it just really lifted this cloud of uncertainty from my path in a way. And that is what this episode is about. How joining a group can really help you build resilience in times of uncertainty, can help you overcome adversity. I'm sure you've heard of AA and those other kind of super formal groups, and I'm sure that those are extremely beneficial to the people that need them. However, the groups that I'm talking about is a little bit more of an informal group. So like the dance team. This is just one example from my life, but it's not the only one. Actually, whenever I was in college, first generation college student, I had no idea what to major in. I had no idea what my major even was. I had no idea how to get a job after college. I just had loads of questions and no support system, again, that I could go to and just ask. So I joined a business fraternity, DSP, that would help me bridge where I was with where I wanted to go. I was put into contact with all these people who were in college, same as me, but were networking with the companies that they wanted to work for, who had internships at companies that, you know, they wanted to work for, or were just in the same relevant field. And I was like, okay, taking notes, this is what I need to do to get from here to here. And this is a great point, actually, because if I want to get from this level to this level, I may have to join a new group, and that's constant change, and I understand that that's frightening. But let's say I join a skater group, right? And it's for beginners because I'm a beginner. Me and my friend join together. We have similar skill sets, but I practice every single day, and I really go in to advance my skill set, and my bestie just practices on Monday nights with the group. I'm going to outgrow that group a lot faster than she will. Do you stay in the group that's not challenging you just to be with someone that you know? Or do you find a place that continues to challenge you, continues to help you grow and advance in the sphere of life that you want to better yourself in? Sports are another great example. Trigger warning, whenever I was in middle school, my mom passed away. I was 13 years old, and I threw myself into sports and schoolwork. I was in volleyball, I was in cheerleading, and I won't say that these groups helped alleviate the suffering that losing a parent puts on one, especially a young teenage girl, but it did help solidify a part of my identity that was completely separate from that extremely core part of, you know, my maternal figure just disappearing from my life. And so it taught me a real sense of the consistency of time and how things continue on even when something seemingly halts forever. You know, so the importance of having peers around you cannot be overstated. After that dance ensemble last summer, I just felt like my whole world opened up again. You know, I started going by Rocky. I started embracing my gender queerness. I actually ended up teaching a dance class at a smaller Black-owned studio, something I did not think that I was qualified for, but I just went for it because that inner resilience is something that you can take with you every time you're faced with a challenge, an obstacle, a fear of rejection. You're like, even if it's a no, I can get through that. And that comes from an inner sense of security, safety, and resilience that hopefully these tips that I share will help you to build in your own life. I also joined another group, a group of female entrepreneurs. After meeting with and connecting with that group, I ended up landing a client that paid me $8,000 for 2 weeks of work. I know. It's just another example of how being in contact with the people who are doing what you want to do is so tremendously helpful. I cannot stress it enough. So if you're feeling really down or out of motivation, please find a local group. If you like to skate or craft or read or write, I'm sure that there are like-minded individuals who just want to meet new people like you. So the only thing stopping you is yourself. If you are in a really remote place, there are so many virtual groups these days. It will still provide that fulfilling relationship of, you know, like-minded passion peer. Even this, I feel more connected to you guys through the screen than I would if I would have just stayed at home and not put out this video. So really work on putting yourself out there, and when you're part of a group, it's so much easier to do that. It's so fulfilling to meet people who are where you are or where you want to be. Use them as inspiration and watch your self-doubt melt away. Joining a group can be really frightening, especially for us introverts. But from my experience, I've realized that I don't have to be the most friendly or the loudest in the room my first time joining. You know, I think that's a lot of pressure that we put on ourselves to have a personality and seem fun and seem interesting and seem outgoing so that we make friends from the groups that we join and we don't just kind of isolate amongst people, if that makes sense. And my advice to that is just to be yourself. You know, let your humor, let your intelligence, let your kindness speak for you and win the crowd for you. Just be your authentic self, and the people that are meant for you will find you. So let me know if you've ever felt firsthand how being part of a group can help one feel more integrated into their community and redirected along their chosen path. Being part of a group that allowed you to get in touch with a part of yourself that was more outgoing, more ambitious, if it helped clarify your vision. Maybe you've gotten a new vision. Let me know down in the comments, whether it was a band or a knitting circle, whatever that may be. I'd love to hear from you guys. Thanks again for watching and joining me today. I hope you have a great week, and remember, you are stronger than you think.